I'm taking this effort of doing Sai Satcharita Parayan, and it is going live. Not sure how good the audio quality will be, but why I'm going live is because some of you who are able to join the live session, I believe you'll be able to join this amazing experience of remembering Sai together with me. So let us start the session immediately. I have a very old version, maybe 21st edition of Sai Satcharita, printed in 2007 by the Sansthan. It's in English. So I love this book. I love this the old version of Sai Satcharita in English. So I'm going to read it for you. Sri Sai Satcharita, Chapter 1. Obeisances, the story of grinding wheat and its philosophical significance. According to the ancient and revered custom, Hematman begins the work Sri Sai Satcharita with various salutations. First, he makes obeisance to God Ganesh to remove all obstacles and make the work a success, and says that Sri Sai is God Ganesh himself. Then to Goddess Saraswati to inspire him to write the work, and says that Sri Sai is one with the goddess and that he is himself singing his own life. Then to the gods Brahma, Vishnu and Shankar, the creating, preserving and destroying deities respectively, and says that Sainath is one with them, and he, the great teacher, will carry us across the river of worldly existence. Then to his tutelary deity Narayan Adinath, who manifested himself in Konkan, the land reclaimed by Parasurama, Ram in Hindi version, from the sea, and to Adi, original Purus of the family. Then to Bharadwaj Muni, into whose Gotra clan he was born, and also to various rishis Yajnavalkya, Prugu, Parasar, Narad, Vedavyas, Sanak, Sanandan, Sanat Kumar, Shuka, Saunak, Viswamitra, Vasistha, Valmiki, Vamadev, Jaimini, Vaisampayan, Navayogendra, etc. And also modern saints such as Nivruti, Dhyandev, Sopan, Muktabai, Janardhan, Eknath, Namdev, Tukaram, Kanha and Narahiri, etc. When I am reading this, I feel blissful, and I want you also to feel, deeply feel and remember Sai in your heart. Then to his grandfather Sadasiv, Father Raghunath, his mother who left him in his infancy, and his parental aunt who brought him up, and to his loving elder brother. Then to the readers, and praise to them to give their whole and undivided attention to his work. And lastly to his Guru Sri Sainath, an incarnation of Sri Dattatreya, who is his sole refuge and who will make him realize that Brahma is reality and world an illusion, and incidentally to all beings in whom the Lord God dwells. After describing in brief the various modes of devotion according to Parasar, Vyasa and Sandilya, etc., the author goes on to relate the following story. It was sometime in 1910 that I went one fine morning to the masjid in Shirdi to have darshan of Saibaba. I was wonderstruck to see the following phenomenon. After washing his mouth and face, Saibaba began to make preparations for grinding wheat. He spread a sack on the floor and thereon set a hand mill. He took some quantity of wheat in the winnowing fan, and then drawing up the sleeves of his kafni, which is robe, and taking hold of the peg of the hand mill, started grinding the wheat by putting a few handfuls of wheat in the upper opening of the mill and rotating it. I thought what business Baba had opening I thought what business Baba had with the grinding of the wheat when he possessed nothing and stored nothing and as he lived on alms. Some people who had come there thought likewise, but none had the courage to ask Baba what he was doing. Immediately, this news of Baba grinding wheat spread into the village, and at once men and women ran to the masjid and flocked there to see Baba's act. 4 bold women from the crowd forced their way up and pushing Baba aside forcibly took the peg or the handle into their hands and singing Baba's Leela started grinding. At first Baba was enraged, but on seeing the woman's love and devotion, he was much pleased and began to smile. While they were grinding, they began to think that Baba had no house, no property, no children and none to look after, and he lived on alms, and therefore he did not require any wheat flour for making bread or roti. What will he do with the large quantity of flour? Perhaps as Baba is very kind, he will distribute the flour amongst us. Thinking in this way and while singing, they finished the grinding, and after putting the hand mill aside, they divided the flour into 4 portions and began to remove them by taking 1 portion per head. Baba, who was calm and quiet till now, got wild and started abusing them, saying, "Ladies, have you gone mad? Whose father's property are you looting away? Have I borrowed any wheat from you so that you can safely take the flour? Now do this. Take the flour and throw it on the village borders." On hearing this, the women felt abashed and whispering amongst themselves went to the outskirts of the village and spread the flour as directed by Baba. I asked the Shirdi people what was this that Baba did. They replied that as cholera epidemic was spreading in the village, this was Baba's remedy for the same. It was not the wheat that was ground, but cholera itself was ground to pieces and pushed out of the village. From this time onward, the cholera epidemic subsided and the people of the village were happy. I was much pleased to know all this, but at the same time my curiosity was also aroused. I began to ask myself what was the causal relationship between the two and how to reconcile them. The incident seems to be inexplicable. I should write something on this and sing to my heart's content Baba's sweet Leelas. Thinking in this way about his Leela, my heart was filled with joy and I was thus inspired to write Baba's life, the Sai Satcharita. And as we know, with Baba's grace and blessings, this work was successfully accomplished. Philosophical significance of grinding. Apart from the meaning which people of Shirdi put on his incident of grinding wheat, there is, we think, a philosophical significance too. Baba lived in Shirdi for about 60 years, and during this long period, he did the business of grinding almost every day. Not, however, wheat alone, but the sins, the mental and physical afflictions, and the miseries of his innumerable devotees. The 2 stones of his mill consisted of karma and bhakti, the former being the lower one and the latter the upper one. The handle with which Baba worked the mill consisted of dhyan. It was firm conviction of Baba that knowledge or self-realization is not possible unless there is prior act of grinding of all our impulses, desires, sins, and of 3 gunas, Visattva, Rajas and Tamas, and Ahankar, which is so subtle that and therefore so difficult to get rid of. This reminds us of a similar story of Kabir, who, seeing a woman grinding corn, said to his guru Nipat Niranjan, "I am weeping because I feel the agony of being crushed under this wheel of worldly existence like the corn in the hand mill." Nipat Niranjan replied, "Do not be afraid. Hold fast to the handle of knowledge of this mill as I do, and do not wander far from the same, but turn inward towards the center, and you are so assured to be saved." Bow to Sri Sai. Peace be to all. My humble request to all of you is that you have to give up the unwanted desires. The moment you give up your unwanted desires, unwanted greed, unwanted lust, everything, you will feel blissfully. You will be able to focus on Sai first of all. So focus on Sai. Spare few minutes every day for Sai. That is enough, and Baba will take care of you. Now we will go to the second chapter. Chapter 2 of Sai Satcharita. Object of writing the work: incapacity and boldness in undertaking, hard discussion, conferring significant and prophetic title of Hemad Pant, necessity of a guru. In the last chapter, the author mentioned in the original Marathi book that he would state the reason that led him to undertake the work and about the persons qualified to read the same, and such other points. Now in this chapter he narrates the same. The object of writing this work. Object of writing this work. In the first chapter, I described Saibaba's miracle of checking and destroying the cholera epidemic. In this chapter, cholera epidemic by grinding wheat and throwing the flour on the outskirts of the village. I heard other miracles of Sai Baba to my great delight, and this delight burst forth into poetic work. I also thought that the description of these miracles of Sai Baba would be interesting and instructive to his devotees and would remove their sins, and so I began to write the sacred life and teachings of Sai Baba. The life of the saint is neither logical nor dialectical. It shows us the true and great path. Om Sai Ram, friends. I have this desire for a very long time in my life that I should, Baba should give me ability to collect stories of Sai which happened during Baba's lifetime, but which nobody actually knows about. But it is a desire that may come to or may not come to. But what matters is there is a possibility that maybe Baba can come and dream and tell me, okay, what are the desires? What are the Leela he has done during his lifetime, which is not in Sai Satcharita or any other books. But those beautiful Leelas, Baba might happily tell me. So I wanted to collect these kind of stories and share it with everyone. But I'm not sure if there is this possibility of, doing that. In any case, I will continue the story. The reason why I'm ranking this is that I don't want to read a chapter as in I'm just reading it and going away. I don't want to do it mechanically. Oftentimes what we do is that when we read Satcharita, we'll be thinking, okay, so many pages are there, we have read 2 chapters today, we have read so many pages today, so much is remaining. Don't do that. When you are reading itself, give some lingering in your mind, give some lingering, let the story get into your heart, deep into your heart. Feel it, desire it, feel the presence of Sai deep in your heart. So that way you will feel very, very happy eventually that Baba's stories are deeply in your heart, and you are also feeling Sai's greatness deep in you. So that is what I love to, that is the kind of way I love to read Baba's stories, to be honest. In any case, I will continue now. In capacity and boldness in undertaking the work. Hemant thought that he was not a fit person to undertake the work. He said, I do not know the life of my intimate friend, nor do I know my own mind. Then how can I write the life of a saint or describe the nature of incarnations, which even Vedas were unable to do? One must be a saint himself before he could know other saints. Otherwise, how can I describe their glory? To write the life of a saint is most difficult. One may as well be able to measure the depth of the seven seas or enclose the sky with cloth trappings. I knew this was the most adventurous undertaking which might expose me to ridicule. I therefore invoked the Saibaba's grace. The premier poet saint of Maharashtra, Sri Jnaneswar Maharaj, stated that the Lord loves those who write the lives of saints, and saints also have their own peculiar method of assigning the service which the devotees long for. The saint inspires the work, the devotee becomes only an indirect cause or an instrument in achieving the end. For instance, in 1700 Saka year, the poet Mahipati aspired to write the lives of saints. Saints inspired him and got the work done. So also in 1800 Saka year, Das Ganu's service was accepted. The farmer wrote 4 works, Bhakta Vijay, Sant Vijay, Bhakta Lilamrut, Sant Lilamrut, while the writer wrote 2, Bhakta Lilamrut and Sant Katamrut, in which the lives of modern saints were described. In chapter 31, 32 and 33 of Bhakta Lilamrut and in chapter 57 of Sant Katamrut, the life and teachings of Sai Baba are very well depicted. Those have been separately published in Sai Leela magazine number 11 and 12, volume 17, and the readers are advised to read those chapters. So also Sai Baba's wonderful Leelas are described by Mrs. Savitribai Raghunath Tendulkar of Bandra in a small book named Sri Sainath Bhajan Mala. Das Ganu Maharaj also has composed various sweet poems on Sai Baba. A devotee named Amidas Bhavani Mehta has also published some stories of Sai Baba in Gujarati. Some numbers of Sainath Prabha, a magazine published by Dakshina Bhiksha Sanstha of Shirdi, are also published. Then the question of objection comes in, that while so many works regarding Sai Baba are extant, why should this Satcharita be written and where is its necessity? The answer is plain and simple. The life of Sai Baba is as wide and deep as infinite ocean, and all can dive deep into the same and take out precious gems of knowledge and bhakti and distribute them among the aspiring people. The stories, parables and teachings of Sai Baba are very wonderful. They will give peace and happiness to people who are afflicted with sorrows and heavily loaded with miseries of this worldly existence, and also bestow knowledge and wisdom both in worldly and spiritual domains. If these teachings of Sai Baba, which are as interesting and intrusive as the Vedic lore, are listened to and meditated upon, the devotees will get what they long for, which is union with Brahma, mastery in eightfold yoga, bliss of meditation, etc. So I thought that I should collect these stories together. That would be my best upasana. This collection would be most delightful to those simple souls whose eyes were not blessed with Sai Baba's darshan. So I set up about collecting Sai Baba's teachings and expressions, the outcome of his boundless self-realization. It was Sai Baba who inspired me in this matter. In fact, I surrendered my ego at his feet and thought that my path was clear and that he would make me quite happy here and in the next world. I could not myself ask Sai Baba to give me permission for this work, so I requested Mr. Madhavrao Deshpande alias Sama, Baba's most intimate devotee, to speak to him for me. He pleaded my cause and said to Sai Baba, "This Anna Sahab wishes to write your biography. Don't say you are a poor fakir and there is no necessity to write it. But if you agree and help him, he will write, or rather your grace will accomplish the work." Without your consent and blessings, nothing can be done successfully. When Saibaba heard this request, he was moved and blessed me by giving me his Udi, sacred ash, and placing his boon bestowing hand on my head. Said, let him make a collection of the stories and experiences. Keep notes and memos. I will help him. He is only an outward instrument. I should write my autobiography myself and satisfy the wishes of my devotees. He should get rid of his ego, surrender it at my feet. He who acts like this in life, him I help the most. What of my life stories? I serve him in his house in all possible ways. When his ego is completely annihilated and there is left no trace of it, I myself shall enter into him and shall myself write my own life. Hearing these stories and teachings will create faith in devotees' heart, and they will easily get self-realization and bliss. Let there be no insistence on establishing one's own view, no attempt to refute others' opinions, no discussion of pros and cons of any subject. Simply read Baba's stories happily, blissfully. Okay? Significant and prophetic title. The word discussion put me in mind of my promise to explain the story of my getting the title of Hemad Pant, and now I began to relate the same. I was on close friendly terms with Kaka Sahab Dikshit and Nana Sahab Chandorkar. They pressed me to go to Shirdi and have Baba's darshan, and I promised them to go do so. But something in the meanwhile turned up, which prevented me from going to Shirdi. The son of a friend of mine at Lonavala fell ill. My friend tried all possible means, physical and spiritual, but the fever would not abate. At length he got his guru to sit by the bedside of his son, but this too was of no avail. Hearing this, I thought, what was the utility of a guru if he could not save my friend's son? If the guru can't do anything for us, why should I go to Shirdi at all? Thinking this way, I postponed my Shirdi trip. But the inevitable must happen, and it happened in my case as follows. Mr. Nana Sahab Chandorkar was a divisional officer, was going on tour to Basin. From Thana he came to Dadar and was waiting for a train bound for Basin. Meanwhile, a Bandra local turned up. He sat in it and came to Bandra and sent for me and took me to task for putting off my Shirdi trip. Nana's argument for my Shirdi trip was convincing and delightful, and so I decided to start for Shirdi the same night. I packed up my luggage and started for Shirdi. I planned to go to Dadar and from there to catch the train for Manmad, and so I booked myself for Dadar and sat in the train. While the train was to start, a Mohammedan came hastily to my compartment and seeing all my paraphernalia, asked me where I was bound to. I told him about my plan. He then suggested that I should go straight to Bodhibandar and not to wait at Dadar, as Manmad mail did not stop at Dadar. If this little miracle or Leela had not happened, I would have not reached Shirdi the next day as settled, and many doubts would have assailed me. But that was not to be. As fortune favored me, I reached Shirdi. The next day before 9 or 10 a.m., Bhau Sahab Kaka Dikshit was waiting for me there. This was in 1910, when there was only one place with Satej Vada for lodging pilgrim devotees. After alighting from the Tonga, I was anxious to have darshan when the great devotee Tatya Sahab Nulkar returned from masjid and said that Saibaba was at the corner of the Vada and that I should first get the preliminary darshan and then after bath see him at leisure. Hearing this, I ran and prostrated before Baba, and my joy knew no bounds. I found more than what Nana Chandorkar had told me. All my senses were satisfied and I forgot my thirst and hunger. The moment I touched Sai Baba's feet, I began a new life. I felt myself much obliged to those who spurred and helped me to get the darshan. And I considered them as my real relatives, and I cannot repay their debt. I only remember them and prostrate mentally before them. The peculiarity of Sai Baba's darshan, as I found it, is that by his darshan our thoughts are changed. The force of previous actions is abated, and gradually non-attachment or dispassion towards worldly objects grows up. It is by the merit of actions in many past births that such darshan is got, and if only you see Sai Baba, all the world assumes the form of Sai Baba. If you only see Sai Baba, all the world assumes the form of Sai Baba. Okay? Hard discussion. On the first day of my arrival in Shirdi, there was a discussion between me and Bala Sahib Bhate regarding the necessity of a guru. I contended, why should we lose our freedom and submit to others? When we have to do our duty, why a guru is necessary? Okay? One must try his best and save himself. What can the guru do to a man who does nothing but sleeps indolently? Thus I pleaded free will, while Mr. Bhate took up the other side with destiny and said, whatever is bound to happen must happen. Even great men have failed. Man proposes one way, but God disposes the other way. Brush aside your cleverness, pride or egoism won't help you. This discussion with all its pros and cons went on for an hour or so, and as usual no conclusion was arrived at. We had to stop the discussion ultimately as we were exhausted. The net result of this was that I lost my peace of mind and found that unless there is a strong body consciousness and egoism, there would be no discussion. In other words, it is egoism which breeds discussion. Then when we went to masjid with others, Baba asked Kaka Sahib Dikshit the following: what was going on in Satesh's Vada? What was the discussion about? And staring at me, Baba further added, what did this Hemantman say? Hearing these words, I was much surprised. The masjid was at a considerable distance from Sateh Vada, where I was staying and where the discussion was going on. How could Baba know our discussion, unless he be omniscient and inner ruler of all of us? I began to think why Sai Baba should call me by the name Hematpant. This word is the distorted form of Hemadri Pant. This Hemadri Pant was a well-known minister of the kings Mahadev and Ramdev of Devgiri of Yadav dynasty. He was very learned and good-natured and author of works such as Chaturvarga Chintamani, dealing with spiritual subjects, and Rajprasasti. He invented and started new methods of accounts and was originator of the Modi Marathi shorthand script. But I was quite the opposite and ignoramus and of mediocre intellect. So I could not understand why the name or title was conferred upon me. But thinking seriously upon it, I thought that the title was a dart to destroy my ego so that I should always remain meek and humble. It was also a compliment paid to me for cleverness in the discussion. Looking into the history, we think that Baba's word calling Mr. Dabolkar by name Hemad Pant was significant and prophetic, as we find that he looked after the management of Sai Sansthan very intelligently, kept all the accounts properly, and was also the author of such good work, Sai Satcharita, which deals with such important and spiritual subjects such as Dhyan, Bhakti, dispassion, self-surrender and self-realization. About the necessity of a guru. Why we need a guru. Hemadpant has left no note, no memo about what Baba said regarding this subject. But Kaka Sahib Dikshit has published his notes regarding this matter. Next day after Hemadpant's meeting with Saibaba, Kaka Sahib went to Baba and asked Baba where to go. Baba said, there are many ways leading there. There is one way. Baba said, there are many ways leading there. There is one way from here, which is Shirdi. The way is difficult. There are tigers and wolves in the jungles on the way. Kaka Sahib asked, but Baba, what if we take the guide with us? Baba answered, then there is no difficulty. The guide will take you straight to your destination, avoiding wolves, tigers and ditches, etc. on the way. If there be no guide, there is a danger of your being lost in the jungles or falling into the ditches. Mr. Dabolkar was present on this occasion and he thought that this was the answer Baba gave to the question whether Guru was a necessity. With Sai Leela, volume 1, number 5, page number 47. And he thereupon took the hint that no discussion whether a man is free or bound is of any use in spiritual matters, but on the contrary, real Paramartha is possible only as the result of teachings of the Guru, as is illustrated in this chapter of the original work in the instances of great avatars like Ram and Krishna, who had to subject themselves to their gurus Vasistha and Sandipini respectively for getting self-realization, and that the only virtues necessary for such progress are faith and patience. With Sai Satcharita chapter 2, page number 191 and 192. Bow to Sri Sai, peace be to all. So that brings an end to the second chapter. What I like about this chapter is, oftentimes we think that nothing is happening in my life. I am really suffering. I am really struggling. I am going to temple, lighting lamps, doing this and that, doing Namswaran, reading Satcharita, but nothing changes. Remember, even when nothing happens, remember, Sai's grace will always take you to great heights, and the Guru's presence in your life is a blessing. The Guru's presence in your life is a blessing, because even when you worship Baba, your mind will be oscillating towards so many other greed, lust, this, that, the day-to-day happenings, people you like, people you don't like. So try to force yourself to get into Sai devotion when your mind is oscillating, so that you will be saved from lots of frustration in future. So Guru is with you, and you should be happy that you have a beautiful Guru like Sai. We will go to the chapter 3 now. Sai Baba's sanction and promise. Assignment of work to devotees. Baba's stories as beacon light. His motherly love. Rohila story. His sweet and nectar-like words. Okay. Sai Baba's sanction and promise. As described in previous chapters, Sai Baba gave his complete assent to writing of the Satcharita and said, I fully agree with you regarding the writing of Satcharita. You do your duty. Don't be afraid in the least. Steady your mind and have faith in my words. Steady your mind and have faith in my words. This is a very beautiful words from Baba. Steady your mind and have faith in my words. If my Leelas are written, the avidya, nescience, will vanish, and if they are attentively and devotedly listened to, the consciousness of worldly existence will abate, and strong waves of devotion and love will rise up. And if one dives deep into my Leelas, he would get precious jewel of knowledge. Okay? Hearing this, the author was much pleased, and he at once became fearless and confident and thought that the work was bound to be a success. Then turning to Sama Madhavrao Deshpande, Saibaba said, "If a man utters my name with love, I shall fulfill all his wishes, increase his devotion, and if he sings earnestly my life and my deeds, him I shall beset in front and back and on all sides. Those devotees who are attached to me, heart and soul, will naturally feel happiness when they hear these stories. Believe me, that if anybody sings my Leelas, I will give him infinite joy and everlasting contentment." Okay? It is my special characteristic to free any person who surrenders completely to me and who worships me faithfully and who remembers me and meditates on me constantly. How can they be conscious of worldly objects and sensations who utter my name and who worship me, who think of my stories and my life, and who thus always remember me? I shall draw out my devotees from the jaws of the death. If my stories are listened to, all diseases will be got rid of. So hear my stories with respect and think and meditate on them. Contentment. The presence of my devotees will varies. The mind of the hearers will be set at rest. If he has wholehearted and complete faith, he will be one with supreme consciousness. The simple remembrance of my name, Sai Sai, will do away with the sins of speech and hearing. Different works assigned to devotees. The Lord entrusts different works to different devotees. Some are given the work of building temples and mosques or gods, flights of steps on the river. Some are made to sing the glories of God. Some are sent on pilgrimages. But to me was allotted the work of writing the Sai Satcharita. Being a jack of all trades but master of none, I was quite unqualified for this job. Then why should I undertake such a difficult task? Who can describe the true life of Saibaba? Saibaba's grace alone can enable one to accomplish this difficult work. So when I took the pen in my hand, Saibaba took away my egoism and himself wrote his stories. The credit of relating these stories therefore goes to him and not me. Though Brahman by birth, I lacked the two eyes, the sight or vision of Shruti and Smriti, and therefore was not at all capable of writing the Sai Satcharita. But the grace of Lord makes a dumb man talk, enable a lame man to cross a mountain. He alone knows the ways of getting things done as he likes. Neither the flute nor the harmonium knows how the sounds are produced. This is the concern of the player. The oozing of Chandrakant, the jewel, and surging of the sea are not due to the jewel and the sea but due to the rising of the moon. Okay? Baba's stories as beacon light. Lighthouses are constructed at various places in the sea to enable a boatman to avoid rocks and dangers and make them sail safely. Sai Baba's stories serve a similar purpose in the ocean of worldly existence. They surpass nectar in sweetness and make our worldly path smooth and easy to traverse. Blessed are the stories of saints when they enter our hearts through the ears and body consciousness. The body consciousness or egoism and the sense of duality vanishes. And when they are stored in the heart, doubt will dissipate. Pride of the body will fall and wisdom will be stored in abundance. The description of Baba's pure fame and the hearing of the same with love will destroy the sins of devotee, and therefore this is the simple sadhana for attaining salvation. The sadhana for Krita age was samadhama, tranquility of mind and body. For Treta age, sacrifice. For Dwapar, worship. And for Kali, present age, it is the singing of the name and glory of the Lord. This last sadhana is open to all people of four varnas, Brahmins, etc. The other sadhanas, which yoga tyaga, sacrifice, dhyan, meditation, and dhyan dharana, concentration, are very difficult to practice. But singing and hearing the stories and the glory of the Sai, of the Lord Saibaba, is very easy. We have only to turn our attention towards them. The listening to and singing of stories will remove the attachment to the senses and their objects and will make the devotees dispassionate and will ultimately lead them to self-realization. With this end in view, Saibaba made me write his stories as Sai Satcharita. The devotees may now easily read and hear these stories of Saibaba, and while doing so meditate on him, his form, and thus attain devotion to Guru and God Saibaba. Get dispassion and self-realization. In the preparation and writing of this work Satcharita, it is Saibaba's grace which has accomplished everything, making use of me as a mere instrument. Baba, Sai, motherly love of Sai Baba. Okay. Everybody knows how a cow loves her infant calf. Her udder is always full, and when the calf wants milk and dashes at the udder, out comes the milk in an unceasing flow. Similarly, a human mother knows the wants of a child beforehand and feeds him at her breast in time. In case of dressing and adorning the child, the mother takes particular care to see that this is well done. The child knows or cares nothing about this, but the mother's joy knows no bounds when she sees her child well dressed and adorned. The love of the mother is peculiar, extraordinary, and disinterested, and has no parallel. Sadgurus feel this motherly love towards their disciples. Sai Baba had the same love towards me, and I give an instance of it below. Sai Baba loves you. In 1916, I retired from government service. The pension that was settled in my case was not sufficient to maintain my family decently. On Guru Purnima, that is 15th of Ashada day of that year, I went to Shirdi with other devotees. There Mr. Anna Chinchanikar of his own accord prayed to Baba for me as follows. Please look kindly at him. Baba, look kindly at him. The pension he gets is quite insufficient. His family is growing. Give him some other appointment. Remove his anxiety and make him happy, Baba. Baba, please look kindly at him. The pension he gets is insufficient. His family is growing. Give him some other appointment. Remove his anxiety and make him happy. Baba replied, he will get some other job, but now he should serve me and be happy. His plates will always be full and never empty. His plates will always be full and never empty. He should turn all his attention towards me and avoid the company of atheists, irreligious and wicked people. He should be modest and humble towards all and worship me with heart and soul. If he does this, he will get eternal happiness. I had tears because when I faced problems in my job, Baba made me read Satcharita, and this This is for every devotee who are listening to this, who are facing problems in their work, in their life. So remember, Baba will take care of you. I will read it again. He will get some other job, but now he should serve me and be happy. His place will be ever be full and never empty. He should turn all his attention towards me and avoid the company of atheists and irreligious and wicked people. He should be modest and humble towards all and worship me with heart and soul. If he does this, he will get eternal happiness. The question, who is this he whose worship is advocated, is already answered in a note on who is Saibaba in the prologue at the beginning of this work. Rohila's story. The story of Rohila illustrates Saibaba's all-embracing love. One Rohila, tall and well-built, strong as a bull, came to Shirdi wearing a long kafani robe and was enamored of the Sai, who stayed there. Day and night he used to recite in a loud and harsh tone the Kalma verses of the Holy Quran and shout, Allahu Akbar, God is great. Most people of Shirdi were working in their fields during the day, and when they returned to their homes at night, they were welcomed with Rohila's harsh cries and shouts. They should get no sleep and felt much trouble and inconvenience. They suffered this nuisance for some days in silence, and when they could stand it no longer, they approached Baba and requested him to check the Rohila and stop the nuisance. Baba did not attend to their complaint. On the contrary, Baba took the villagers to task and asked them to mind their own business. He said to them that the Rohila had very bad wife and who tried to trouble the Rohila and himself. But hearing the Rohila's prayers, she dared not enter, and they were at peace. In fact, the Rohila had no wife, and by his wife Baba meant Durbuddhi, evil thoughts. As Baba liked prayers and cries to God better than anything else, he took the side of Rohila and asked the villagers to wait and bear with the nuisance, which would abate in due course. Baba's sweet and nectar-like words. One day at noon after Aarti, devotees were returning to their lodgings when Baba gave the following beautiful advice. Baba gave a beautiful advice. Be wherever you like, do whatever you choose. Remember this well, that all what you do is known to me. I am the inner ruler of all and seated in your hearts. I envelop all the creatures, the movable and the immovable world. I am the controller, the wire puller of the soul of this universe. I am the mother, origin of all beings, the harmony of three gunas, the propeller of all senses, and the creator, preserver, and destroyer. Nothing will harm him who turns his attention towards me, but Maya will lash or whip him who forgets me. All the insects, ants, the visible, movable, and immovable world is my body or form. Hearing these beautiful and precious words, I at once decided in my mind to serve no man henceforth but my Guru only. But the reply of Baba to Anna Chinchanikar's query, which was really mine, that I would get some job, began to revolve in my mind, and I began to think whether it would come to happen. As future events showed, Baba's words came true and I got a government job, but that was of short duration. Then I became free and devoted myself solely to the service of my Guru Sai Baba. Before concluding this chapter, I request the readers to leave out the various hindrances with indolence, sleep, wandering of mind, attachment to senses, and turn their whole and undivided attention to these stories of Saibaba. Let their love be natural. Let them know the secret of devotion. Let them not exhaust themselves by other sadhanas. Let them stick to this simple remedy, listening to Sai Baba's stories. This will destroy their ignorance and will secure for them salvation. A miser may stay at various places, but he constantly thinks of his buried treasure. So let Sai Baba be enthroned in the hearts of all. In the next chapter, I shall speak of Sai Baba's advent in Shirdi. Bow to Sri Sai, peace be to all. Chapter 4. Chapter 4. We have come to chapter 4 now. Mission of the Saints. Sai Baba's first advent in Shirdi. How Baba first came to Shirdi. Very important part of Sai Baba's life, which has saved our life. Mission of the Saints. Shirdi, a holy earth. Personality of Sai Baba. Dictum of Goliba. Because I cried, I got cold. Sorry. Appearance of Vittal. Kirsagar's story. Das Ganu's bath in Prayag. Immaculate conception of Sai Baba and his first advent in Shirdi. 3 Vadas. In the last chapter, I described the circumstances which led me to write Sai Satcharita. Let me now describe the first advent of Sai Baba in Shirdi. Mission of Saints. Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4, 7 and 8 that whenever there is a decay of dharma, righteousness, and an ascendancy of unrighteousness, I manifest myself for the protection of the virtuous and the destruction of the vicious and for the establishment of righteousness. I manifest myself age after age. This is the mission of the Lord and the sages and the saints who are his representatives and who appear to appropriate times and work in their own way to fulfill that mission. For instance, when the twice born, which the Brahmins, the Kshatriyas and the Vaishyas neglect their duties, and when the Sudras try to usurp the duties of other classes, when spiritual preceptors are not respected but humiliated, when nobody cares for the religious instructions, when everybody thinks himself to be very learned, when people begin to partake of forbidden foods and intoxicating drinks, when under the cloak of religion people indulge in malpractices, when people belonging to different sects fight amongst themselves, when Brahmins fail to do Sandhya adoration and the Orthodox leave their religious practices, when yogis neglect their meditation, when people begin to think that wealth, progeny, wife are the sole concern and thus turn away from the true path of salvation, then saints appear and try to set matters right by their words and action. They serve us as beacon lights and show us the path and the right way for us to follow. In this way, many saints with Nivruti, Dhyandev, Muktabai, Namdev, Kora, Gonai, Yeknath, Tukaram, Narahiri, Narsibai, Sajan Kasai, Savata, Ramdas and various others did appear at various times to show the right path to people, and so the present advent came as Sri Saibaba of Shirdi. Shirdi, a holy earth. The banks of the Godavari river in Ahmednagar district are very fortunate, for they gave birth and refuge to many a saint, prominent amongst them being Jnaneswar. Shirdi also falls in the Kopargaon Taluka or Ahmednagar district. After crossing the Godavari river at Kopargaon, one gets on the way to Shirdi. When you go 3 cars, 9 miles, you come to Nimgaon, where Shirdi is visible. Shirdi is as famous and well known as the other holy places like Gangapur, Nirsangwadi, Adumbar, and the banks of Krishna river. As the devotee Damoji flourished and blessed Mangal Veda near Pandarpur, as Samat Ramdas at Sajangad, as Sri Narsimha Saraswati at Saraswati Wadi, so Sainath flourished at Shirdi and blessed it. Personality of Sai Baba. It is on account of Sri Sai Baba that Shirdi grew into importance. Let us see what sort of personage Sai Baba was. He conquered this sansar, worldly existence, which is very difficult and hard to cross. Peace or mental calm was his ornament, and he was a repository of wisdom. He was the home of Vaishnav devotees, most generous like Karna, amongst all the quintessence of all essences. He had no love for perishable things and was always engrossed in self-realization, which was his sole concern. He felt no pleasure in the things of this world or of the world beyond. His antarang heart was as clear as mirror, and his speech always rained nectar. The rich or the poor people were the same to him. He neither knew nor cared for honor or dishonor. He was the Lord of all beings. He spoke freely and mixed with all people, watched the acting and dances of Nautch girls, and heard ghazal songs. Still he swerved not an inch from samadhi, mental equilibrium. The name of Allah was always on his lips. While the world awoke, he slept. While the world slept, he was vigilant. His inner self was as calm as the deep sea. His ashram could not be determined, nor his actions could be definitely determined. And though he lived in one place, he knew all the transactions of the world. His darbar was imposing. He told hundreds of stories daily. Still he swerved not an inch from his vow of silence. He always leaned against the wall in the masjid or walked morning, noon and evening towards Lendi, Nala and Chavli. Still he at all times abided in the self. Though a Siddha, he acted like a sadhaka. He was a meek and humble and egoless and pleased all. Such was Sai Baba, and as the soil of Shirdi was trodden by Sai Baba's feet, it attained extraordinary importance. As Janeswar elevated Alandi, Eknath did to Paitan, so Sai Baba raised Shirdi. Blessed are the grass leaves on the stones of Shirdi, for they could kiss the holy feet of Sai Baba and take his dust on their heads. Shirdi became to us devotees another Pandharpur, Jagannath, Dwarka, Benares, Kasi and Rameswar, Badrikedar, Nasik, Triambakeswar, Ujjain and Mahakaleshwar or Mahabaleshwar, Konkan. Contact of Sai Baba in Shirdi was like our study of Veda and Tantra. It quietened our sansar world consciousness and rendered self-realization. The darshan of Sri Sai was our yoga sadhana, and talk with him removed our sins. Shampooing his legs was our bath in Triveni Prayag, and drinking the holy water of his feet destroyed our sins. To us his commands were Vedas, and accepting eating his udhi, sacred ashes and prasad was all purifying. He was our Sri Krishna and Sri Ram, who gave us solace and was our Parabrahma, absolute reality. He was himself beyond the pair of Dvandvas, opposites, never dejected nor elated. He was always engrossed in his self as existence, knowledge and bliss. Shirdi was his center, but his field of action extended far beyond, to Punjab, Calcutta, North India, Gujarat, Decca, now in Bangladesh and Konkan. Thus the fame of Sai Baba spread far and wide, and people from all parts came to take his darshan and be blessed. By mere darshan, minds of people whether pure or impure would become quiet at once. They got here the same unparalleled joy that devotees get at Pandharpur by seeing Vittal Rukumai. This is not an exaggeration. Consider what a devotee says in this respect. Dictum of Goliba. An old devotee by name Goliba, aged about 95 years, was a Varkari of Pandari. He stayed for 8 months at Pandharpur and for 4 months Asada to Kartik, July to November on the banks of the Ganges. He had a donkey with him for carrying his luggage and disciple as his companion. Every year he made his wari a trip to Pandharpur and came to Shirdi to see Sai Baba. whom he loved most. He used to gaze at Baba saying, "This is Pandarinath, Vittal incarnate, the merciful Lord of poor and helpless." This Goliba was an old devotee of Vithoba and had made many a trip to Pandari, and he testified that Saibaba was real Pandarinath. Vittal himself appeared. Saibaba was very fond of remembering and singing God's name. He always uttered Allah Malik, God is Lord, and in his presence made others sing God's name continuously day and night for all the 7 days of the week. This is called Nam Sapta. Once he asked Das Ganu Maharaj to do Nam Sapta. He replied that he would do it provided he was assured that Vittal would appear at the end of the 7th day. Then Baba, placing his hand on his chest, assured him that certainly Vittal would appear, but for that the devotee must be earnest and devout. The Dankapuri Thakur of Dhakurnath, the Pandari of Vittal, the Dwarka of Ranchod, Krishna is here in Shirdi. One need not go far out to see Dwarka. Only when the devotee is bursting with love and devotion, Vittal will manifest himself here in Shirdi. After the Sapta was over, Vittal did manifest himself in following manner. Kaka Sahib Dixit was as usual sitting in meditation after his bath. He saw Vittal in a vision. When he went at noon for Baba's darshan, Baba asked him point blank, "Did Vittal Patil come? Did you see him? He is very truant fellow. Catch him firmly, otherwise he will escape if you are even a little inattentive." This happened in the morning, and in the noon there was another Vittal darshan. A hawker came there for selling 25 to 30 pictures of Vithoba. This picture exactly tallied with the figure that he had appeared in the Kaka Sahib's vision. On seeing this and remembering Baba's words, Kaka Sahib Dixit was much surprised and delighted. He bought one picture of Vithoba and placed it in shrine for worship. Bhagwan Rao Krisagar's story. How fond was Baba of Vittal worship was illustrated in Bhagwan Rao Krisagar's story. The father of Bhagwan Rao was a devotee of Vithoba and used to make Varis, annual trips to Pandarpur. He also had an image of Vithoba at home which he worshipped. After his death, the son stopped everything, the Vari, the worship, and the Shraddha ceremony, etc. When Bhagwan Rao came to Shirdi, Baba, and remembering his father, at once said, "His father was my friend, so I dragged him the son here. He never offered Naivedya, offering of food, or so he starved Vittal and me. So I brought him here. I shall remonstrate with him now and set him to worship." Das Ganu's bath in Prayag. The Hindus think that the bath in holy earth of Prayag, where the Ganga and the Yamuna meet, is very meritorious, and thousands of pilgrims go there periodically to have the sacred bath there. Once Das Ganu thought that he should go to Prayag for bath and came to Baba to get his permission for doing so. Baba replied to him, "It is not necessary to go so far. Our Prayag is here. Believe me." Then, wonder of wonders, when Das Ganu placed his head on Baba's feet, out flowed streams of Ganga, Yamuna water from both the toes of Baba. Seeing this miracle, Das Ganu was overwhelmed with feelings of love and adoration, and tears filled my eyes. Inwardly he felt inspired, and his speech burst forth into a song in praise of Baba and his Leelas. Immaculate Conception of Saibaba and his first advent in Shirdi. Nobody knew the parents' birthplace of Saibaba. Many inquiries were made, many questions were put to Baba and others regarding these, but no satisfactory answer or information has yet been obtained. Practically, we know nothing about these matters. Namdev and Kabir were not born like ordinary mortals. They were found as infants in the mother of pearls, Namdev being found on the bank of Bhimrati river by Gonai, and Kabir on the bank Bhagirathi river by Tamal. Similar was the case with Saibaba. He first manifested himself as a young lad of 16 years under the neem tree in Shirdi for the sake of bhaktas. Even then he seemed to be full of knowledge of Brahma. He had no desire for worldly objects even in a dream. He kicked out Maya and Mukti. Deliverance was serving at his feet. One old woman of Shirdi, the mother of Nana Chobda, described him thus: "This young lad, fair, smart and very handsome, was first seen under the neem tree seated in an asan." The people of the village were wonderstruck to see such a young lad practicing hard penance, not minding the heat and cold. By day he associated with none. By night he was afraid of nobody. People were wondering and asking whence this young chap had turned up. His form and features were so beautiful that a mere look endeared him to all. He went to nobody's door, always sat near the neem tree. Outwardly he looked very young, but by his action he was really a great soul. He was embodiment of this passion and was an enigma to all. One day it so happened that God Khandoba possessed the body of some devotee, and people began to ask him, "Deva, God, you please inquire what blessed father's son is this lad, and whence did he come?" God Khandoba asked them to bring a pickaxe and dig in the particular place. When it was dug, bricks were found underneath a flat stone. When the stone was removed, a corridor was seen in which 4 samayis lights were burning. The corridor led to a cellar where cow-mouth shaped structures and wooden boards, rosaries were seen. Khandoba said this lad practiced penance here for 12 years. Then the people began to question the lad about his. He put them off by telling them that this was his guru's place, his holy Vatan, and requested them to guard this well. The people then closed the corridor as before, as Aswatha and Adumbar trees are held sacred. Baba regarded this neem tree equally sacred and loved it most. Mahalsapati, the other Shirdi devotees, regarded this site as the resting place, Samadhi Sthan of Baba's Guru, and prostrated before it. 3 Vadas. The site with the neem tree and the surrounding space was bought by Mr. Hari Vinayak Sate, and on this site a big building styled Sate's Vada was erected. This Vada was the sole resting place for pilgrims who flocked there. A platform was built around the neem tree and lofts with steps were constructed. Under the steps there is a niche facing south, and devotees sit on platform facing north. It is believed that he who burns incense there on Thursday and Friday evenings will by God's grace be happy. This Vada was old and dilapidated and needed repairs. The necessary repairs and additions and alterations have been made now by the Sansthan. Then after some years, another Vada, Dixit Vada, was constructed. Kaka Sahib Dixit, solicitor of Mumbai, had gone to England. He had injured his leg in an accident there. The injury could not be got rid of by any means. Nana Sahib Chandorkar advised him to see Saibaba. So he went to Saibaba in 1909 and requested him to cure lameness of his mind rather than that of his leg. He was so much pleased with the darshan of Saibaba that he decided to reside in Shirdi, so he built a Vada for himself and other devotees. The foundation of this building was laid on 10/12/1910. On this day, 2 other important events took place. Mr. Dada Sahib Kapade was given permission to return home, and the night Aarti at Chavdi was started. The Vada was completed and was inhabited on the Ram Navami day in 1911 with due rites and formalities. Then another Vada or palatial mansion was put up by famous millionaire Mr. Bhuti of Nagpur. A lot of money was spent on this building, but it was all well utilized, as Sai Baba's body is resting in this Vada, which is now called the Samadhi Mandir. The site of this Mandir formerly had a garden which was watered and looked after by Baba. Three Vadas thus came up where there was none formerly. Of these, Satesh Vada was the most useful to all in the early days. The story of the garden which was attended by Saibaba with the help of Vaman Tatya, the temporary absence of Saibaba from Shirdi and his coming again to Shirdi with marriage party of Chand Patil, the company of Devidas, Jankidas and Gangagir, Baba's wrestling match with Mohiddin Tamboli, residing in the masjid, love of Mr. Dengle and other devotees and other incidents will be described in the next chapter. Bow to Sri Sai, peace be to all. Om Sai Ram friends. Today I have started the holy work of reading Sai Satcharita. I feel blissful when I do it, and my happiness is doubled and my blissfulness is doubled when you are listening to this. Forgive me because my pronunciation is not great, and since it is going live I am not sure how the audio quality will be. It is going to be 12:30 at night. I feel blissful. Let us keep remembering the holy feats of our Sadguru Saibaba. Let us give up all our desires, unwanted desires, and let us focus on what we have to do to earn our living, to make our parents happy, to lead a decent life. Let us keep chanting Baba's holy name always. Whoever listening to this, Ji, Sarna, Rekha, Mayur, everyone, thank you so much for being with me. I will chant Baba's holy name for 5 minutes, then I will end the session. Om Sai Ram. Jai Jai Sai Ram, Sai Ram, 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 Sai Ram. Om Sai Namo Namah. Sri Sai Namo Namah. Jaya Jaya Sai Namo Namah. Sadguru Sai Namo Namah. Om Sai Namo Namah. Sri Sai Namo Namah. Jaya Jaya Sai Namo Namah. Sadguru Sai Namo Namah. Om Sai Namo Namah. Sri Sai Namo Namah. Jaya Jaya Sai Namo Namah. Sadguru Sai Namo Namah. Om Sai Namo Namah. Sri Sai Namo Namah. Jaya Jaya Sai Namo Namah. Sadguru Sai Namo Namah. Om Sai Ram, Om Sai Ram, Om Sai Ram, Om Sai Ram. Om Sai Namo Namah. Sri Sai Namo Namah. Jaya Jaya Sai Namo Namah. Sadguru Sai Namo Namah. Datta Maharaj, Naga Sai, take care of your health. Om Sai Ram, friends. Keep remembering Baba's holy name. Baba will protect you. Baba, this Baba is in your heart. He's Antaryami. Okay? Om Sai Ram. 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 So try to see you tomorrow. Om Sai Ram, friends. I'll meet you tomorrow. Om Sai Ram. Om Sai Ram. Om Sai Ram. Om Sai Ram. Om Sai Ram.